Hello, Southeast sports fans. I'm Hanna Barton, joined by Brenden Schaeffer, and we've got your 2025 Arkansas Razorbacks preview for you today. And Brenden, in my mind, the real question is this the season that finally tips the scales for Sam Pittman at Arkansas?
Yeah, it seems like in one direction or the other, that ought to be the case. It's kind of crazy that he's one of the longest tenured head coaches in this league when it feels like every year we're talking about him being on the hot seat and then Arkansas continuing to stick with him, even amid some pretty lackluster and disappointing campaigns. I don't know that it gets necessarily any easier, Hannah, with the schedule that we'll be talking about in a little bit for the Hogs, but they do have one shining light in the midst of some darkness, and that's Taylen Green. Like, this is the type of quarterback that I think is the headliner for the program right now. And if he has a healthy season where he puts it all together, he is the type of talent that can put a program on his back for a season and really change the direction of things. I am sure that's what Sam Pittman is hoping to see because it's been kind of some tough sledding in recent years.
Taylen Green, definitely the highlight of this Arkansas, not only Arkansas offense, but this Arkansas team. It'll be his second year under that Bobby Petrino offense. So seeing how he's going to be able to thrive, and also is really going to be one of the only consistent returners from this team a year ago. You're going to see some shifts in the offensive line, new looks of the running back position and the wide receiver position. So the question is Green kind of going to be able to carry this offense on his back in terms of leadership and just experience working under Petrino?
Yeah, and they have brought in a bunch of transfers to the receiving room to try to give him some additional help. But you're right. I think everything around him is going to be largely changing from what he experienced last year. And he put up some good numbers, logged 3,100 passing yards and ran for another 600 yards. That is something that is a legitimate part of his game. He's able to move with the football and have the groundwork be a significant part of what makes him so dynamic, but certainly going to be looking to throw more than 15 touchdowns, I would imagine. His 15-9 touchdown to interception ratio from last year, a little bit underwhelming, but really he wasn't the big problem with Arkansas last year. Their defense just wasn't able to stop anybody, particularly in the secondary, Hannah. That's an area that, like, you can sit here and hope that it's going to improve this year, but it almost feels like their offense is going to have to overcome whatever the deficiencies defensively there might be.
Yeah, brought in the people that they needed on that offense, it seems like, to really build it around Green. But then you move to the defensive side of the ball. Like you mentioned, really struggled last year. Their pass defense was, I think, a good way to put it is horrendous because they gave up nearly 250 yards per game. And they have some sophomores and some juniors that they're hoping will be kind of like their breakout year. You think of Selman Bridges, Jordan Young. But overall, you don't see the kind of restock and build on the defensive side that we saw in this offense. So definitely going to have to step up unless they want this offense in Green to carry this team through the season, essentially.
And look, maybe that's still what is going to end up having to happen, and we'll see the capabilities of that. They ended up with some wide receivers. The most interesting transfer wide receiver in the extent to which he ends up playing is a former baseball player, Monte Harrison, who has had a whole minor league and big league run in his career trying to figure it out in MLB, has said, nope, I'm switching back to football. And he's kind of been a fun story from their camp so far. But really, it should be that type of open competitive competition mindset for the receiver room to be able to figure out who's going to really support Taylen Green. He can do a lot with his legs, but they're also going to have some pass catchers emerge if the offense is going to turn into the type of unit that can, if the defense is anything close to as porous as it was last year, end up supporting and trying to find a way in a tough SEC schedule to make some headway.
We're going to send it to Kylie and our guest here in just a second. But one more question for you, Brenden. Do you think Green is a player that we would be talking about a little bit more if he was on a team other than Arkansas? Maybe if he was on one of those teams that's in the upper middle tier of the SEC?
Yeah, honestly, with the way Arkansas's season went last year, and especially in the NIL era, I kind of was expecting him to enter the portal and maybe go somewhere else. Maybe it says a lot about him and his character that he wants to stick it out with Arkansas. I'm sure Arkansas fans are pleased by that development, but no coaching change. We mentioned Sam Pittman's still there, and so his quarterback remains as well, with a chance to, in their hopes, elevate the program this year. But I think you're right. If he was at a program that had more expectations, you would certainly be hearing a lot more about Taylen Green this time of year.
Well, we'll get to hear more about Arkansas from Kylie and our guest from SEC Media Days. So we're going to go ahead and send it to her.
Yes, thank you so much, Hannah. Well, we talked to Trey Schapp at SEC Media Days, who has covered Arkansas for more than 25 years. He said that Taylen Green is going to have to find someone on the offensive side of the ball to help him be consistent, to lead this team to success, and their defense is going to have to just step it up one notch, and hopefully Arkansas can make a bowl game this year once again like they did in the 2024 season. Let's hear from Trey.
You guys have Taylen Green coming in,
Yep.
quarterback. What are you guys expecting from him this season?
Well, I think obviously if the offensive line can protect him, that he could potentially lead Arkansas back to a bowl game. He did that last year. He did go out in the game against Tennessee, but Arkansas was still able to win that game. And so I think if Taylen can adapt to the receivers that are coming in, because obviously in the age of the transfer portal, there's so much turnover. It's trying to find out, who are going to be my go-to guys. He loses a Luke Has at tight end and transferred to Ole Miss. And so who are going to be the guys that he can rely on when he has to make a first down, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7? Who can he go to? Year 2 under Bobby Petrino as his offensive coordinator, I think quarterbacks usually get better. Will Taylen Green take that step? Razorback fans hope so.
Right.
Yet to be determined.
Going off the transfer portal movement, obviously Arkansas did lose a good amount of guys to that portal. What do Arkansas fans want to see from Pittman and Arkansas when it comes to managing that portal a little bit better?
I think they would like to get some of the money that Coach Cal's been able to get on the basketball side, because you look at,
definitely.
Mr. Tyson stepping up and some of the others, Mr. Stevens, that have come in and just, hey, Cal, what do you need? We're here for you. And but no, I think trying to find the right mix. I think that's something that is so tough. You go and you recruit kids in high school, and let's say they don't choose your school, but you still have to not get down on them. You don't have to talk bad about them. You've got to keep a good relationship going on there, because you never know. They might come back around in 2 years and not be happy where they went, and now they're looking at your program. And I think if Coach Pittman can get a couple of wins under his belt, it's going to be tough starting the year out, obviously. I mean, 2 winnable games early, but then you go to Oxford and take on Ole Miss. You go to Memphis in back-to-back weeks, and then you have Notre Dame coming to Fayetteville. So if you can get through that stretch with 2 wins, I would count that as a huge win.
I was going to say, do you think there's any possible chance they're 9-0 heading into LSU?
No. No. If that happens, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there would
crazy.
that would be crazy. The odds would probably put at, probably plus 50,000 at that right now. But yeah, I mean,
You'd be hearing
It could
woo
happen
pigs
with
from
Taylen
coast
Green.
to coast.
It could happen with Taylen Green.
it could happen. We would be hearing woo pig from coast to coast. Someone on the
We would.
team would be in the Heisman conversation, I would bet. Probably Taylen Green.
Yeah.
College game day would probably show up at a couple of games. Who knows? They might be there for Arkansas, Missouri at the end of the year if Arkansas is 11-0 going into that game.
They'll never come to Missouri. They'll never
Well,
go.
that game's in Fayetteville, so that's why. Yeah.
I don't think if Missouri's there, I don't think they will.
Never say never.
Honestly.
So you touched on the offense. We obviously talked about Taylen Green, expecting to see him develop in this year too. But like you mentioned, the offensive line having to rebuild all of his weapons gone, having to rebuild that. What's the offense going to look like now with new people?
New personnel. Yeah, I think with Bobby Petrino, you're used to the RPO style. I mean, that's what he brought when he was the head coach. He opened it up a lot. I think Taylen Green, they're going to try and stretch the field a little bit with the speed that they have at the receiver core. I think they will try and throw it downfield some. They're going to utilize their running backs too, and they will utilize the tight end. Bobby Petrino has always done that. I mean, last year I remember a game. I can't remember exactly what game it was, but I remember a play that he ran, and it was the identical play that Ryan Mallett threw a touchdown to Chris Gregg in Athens, Georgia, in a game that they scored the first touchdown. Chris Gregg was wide open. The play is called Cowboy Go Get It. And the tight end splits out, looks like he's blocking. He splits out. Quarterback kind of hides the ball behind his back, and then he lets it go. They hit Gregg. He was wide open, scored against Georgia. Arkansas went on to win that game. One of the rare times they won in Athens. But they ran that play last year. Tight end was wide open. and it was just a play that worked just so perfectly. So I think Bobby Petrino's offense, if he can get the guys in and utilize the personnel to hit the best of his ability with a quarterback that is in year 2 with him, I think they can have success. The only question is, how good are the defenses that they're going to be facing?
I was going to say, talking about that, you guys have a transfer coming in, Phillip Lee, 6'4", 240 pounds, but you guys are light on the proven commodities.
Yeah.
What do you think the defense is going to look like?
Defensive line, I mean, they've got to shore that up there. I do like the fact that Travis Williams is back as defensive coordinator again. I think he's a guy that can rally the troops around him. They had some success last year, but they also had Landon Jackson, who was an NFL draft pick, on the defensive line. So whether or not the defensive line can step up, and then you find got to fill some holes in the secondary. Braxton left to go to Ole Miss. Hudson Clark is no longer eligible because he's out of eligibility. He's played all his time. I think if they can find some guys to fill some of the holes and get solid at linebacker, then possibly they can have success. And it might be a situation where look, we know the offense can put up some points. Can the defense slow some of these other high-powered offenses down?
Definitely.
How crucial is kind of stockpiling and really honing in on that linebacker room because of kind of the questions on the other sides of it?
It's big because you have to have guys that can stop after those defensive linemen can hold that offensive lineman up, try to get back there to the quarterback. Linebackers got to be able to shoot the gaps, know where the ball's going, see it all, react fast, and then they've got to fly to the ball and be able to make the sure tackle. And I think that's one thing that at times we haven't seen with Arkansas is sure tackling. They've got to be able to tackle well, and some games they've missed tackles in the open field, and maybe that's something that they work on in fall camp is let's make sure we tackle hard and tackle to the ground.
Definitely. I think what do you think, what will Arkansas fans be happy with this season?
I don't think they would be happy going to Birmingham for the Birmingham Bowl. I think they would be happy if they got a notch above that, if they could go to a bowl game in Florida. So that would mean 7-8 wins. The question is, can they get to 8? You look at that schedule, and some say it is the toughest schedule in the country. When you're at Ole Miss, Notre Dame at home, but you're at Memphis that could be in a Power 4 conference. You're at Texas, you're at LSU, before you've got Missouri to wrap up the season. We all know that Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz has basically owned Arkansas since he's been there in that, manufactured rivalry game that they came up with, the Battle Line Trophy. So, but no, I think, look, Tennessee on the road, that's also going to be tough. I mean, they beat Tennessee last year. I don't expect them to go into Neyland Stadium and be able to beat them this year. Auburn, are they improved from what they did last year? They come to Fayetteville this year. Mississippi State's in Fayetteville this year. It's going to be a tough season. I think if Arkansas can win 7-8 games, the fans should be happy about that.
Yeah.
But of course they should be, is what we say. But what, as someone that covers this team, this fan base, what's kind of the attitude around looking at this schedule, especially where you look in the middle, right in the nitty gritty of it all, and it is just daunting has been the word to describe it.
Well, it's like, where are the breaks? I mean, you're in the SEC, and some people say you've been in that league for 26 years now, or even 37 years now, I believe it is. 37 years, 27 with me covering the Hogs. You're right.
Yeah,
so 36, because they came in 92, 36 years in the league. And, I mean, this is a tough league. Everybody's going to play a tough schedule. Look at Vanderbilt last year. Alabama went in there thinking, hey, it's Vanderbilt. We're going to run in there and win. No, you didn't. You got beat. Anybody can beat anybody, except for maybe Mississippi State this year.
We're back taking a look at a little bit deeper at this Arkansas schedule. So right now, sitting at about 5.5 win prediction for the Razorbacks. Brenden, as you take a look at this schedule, where do you think things can maybe tip the scales for Arkansas?
Yeah, it's a manageable win total at DraftKings Sportsbook. Over 5.5 wins in the 12-game regular season for the Hogs has plus 110 odds. So even maybe a slight underdog to be able to become bowl eligible this year. And as you're trying to count to 6 for the Hogs this year, which again, I recognize may not even really be enough to excite the fan base or even perhaps retain their coach and the coaching staff. But Arkansas State, that's an early win. Alabama A&M, that's an early win. You play that game against Memphis on September the 20th. That's in Memphis, so that's going to be a little bit of an interesting one, but I think one that Arkansas certainly, as long as things are moving in the right direction, you almost just have to chalk that one up for the Razorbacks. And look, if it doesn't go well, you probably circle that game and say that could legitimately be a game that gets a coach fired if you aren't able to beat Memphis on the road. But the very next week you host Notre Dame. So it's not like it takes very long to get ramped up. You go to Ole Miss early in the season. Counting to 5, I'm going to give them Alabama, A&M, Arkansas State. I'm going to give them Memphis. And then you look through that conference slate. They do host Mississippi State. It's another team that's, not necessarily expected to do very much this year. I'm going to give that one to the Hogs. That gets them to 4. Nothing else am I extremely confident about when it comes to the Arkansas team this year. But again, Auburn's kind of a team in a similar boat, and the Hogs get that one at home. So if that gets them to 5, now you're just trying to find a way to pick off somebody somewhere along the way. On the road at Tennessee, again, any team with a quarterback question this time of year, there's a chance that the Hogs could go in there and get that one. Hosting A&M, I can't count Arkansas out of any of their home games. The big rivalry for the battle line against Missouri at the end of the season, that's obviously one that they would love to get this time around. So, I could see a path to 6. It feels more likely that they end up with 5, unless they're shocking a couple of teams along the way. It feels like a pretty fair line, though. I mean, there's enough home games here against winnable opponents that, if Arkansas can take, let's say, 2 out of 3 of Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri, if you get 2 out of those 3, you give them the 3 non-cons. You just got to find one more. They could do it, Hanna. I just don't know. I just don't know what we're going to get from that defense. That's really the element of this that scares me the most. And if that's true, if you don't show improvement on that side of the ball, what's the upside to be able to keep pace in a pretty rigorous conference schedule?
One thing Razorback fans have become accustomed to in Pittman's last couple of seasons is this inconsistency, but doing just enough when it comes to upsets, specifically conference upsets, to be able to kind of stay just where they need to be and just where Sam Pittman needs to be. So I'm looking at the schedule kind of in my mind thinking, okay, what's going to be the gimme that Arkansas ends up dropping and what's going to be the upset? And for me, I'm looking, Tennessee's definitely going to be one in my mind that's going to be chalked up to be a loss because they're going to be vengeful after that upset Arkansas had from them last year.
Right.
Notre Dame, for some reason, I've got this gut feeling that they might have. I'm thinking maybe drop Memphis at Memphis, but then come back and win against Notre Dame. For some reason, that just seems like an Arkansas thing to do.
Oh, if that wouldn't be the most Sam Pittman thing of all time, because then they'll be like, I don't know. Can we fire him? I don't think we can. You're just going to continue to kick that kid down the road. Arkansas fans would probably almost appreciate having something definitive one way or the other. Like you don't drop any of the games you're supposed to win and you pick up a few to where you get 7-8 wins and can at least show some signs of progress. It would also be very fascinating if that played out because you're talking about getting one of your signature wins, but it would come in the non-con against Notre Dame if that were to happen. And it's like, that doesn't even help your conference schedule and your standing in that regard. I would say A&M is another one that I don't really know exactly what we're going to make of that Texas A&M team. They're very good, very talented last year as well, but also feels like, I don't know, they go into Arkansas and that could be one that if A&M has a number by their name at that point in the calendar, Arkansas is going to take that game very seriously too. It would not shock me at all for Arkansas to get there. And I almost see that 6 wins could be very possible just because of the upset factor. We don't know who they're going to pick off, but they're going to pick off somebody. And with that in mind, I would be inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt. I also don't know if I'd want to bet it though, just because the odds aren't quite as attractive to me to say, all right, I'm going to give you that 6 wins. It could go either way. This is a team that I don't think the bottom is completely going to drop out on Arkansas, Hanna, but I also don't think that it's automatically enough to save Sam Pittman's job. I am a Missouri grad, and so that battle line rivalry is something that we look forward to at the end of every season. I don't know if Sam Pittman makes it to that game. I really think that this could be one of those cases where they're close. The talent isn't bad, but at the end of the day, the results just don't necessarily show up, which is why I feel like I'm kind of leaning under here, but I don't know. It's a toss-up.
I can see what you're saying with that, especially having LSU and Texas away right before that Missouri game. I mean, you get a blowout win at LSU or a blowout win at Texas, that could very well just be the straw that breaks the camel's back and sends Pittman out the door. We'll have to wait and see. But as you're looking at this Arkansas schedule, locking in, where do you see them at win total? Your final answer.
Final answer. I think it sits between 5 and 6, and I'm gonna lean. Yeah, because I don't think LSU or Texas happens on the road. If they happen to stumble against Mississippi State or something like that, that could really hurt Sam Pittman's case. I'm going to lean 5 and 7. I'm not extremely confident in that, but I'm going to say too, even if they get to 6 and 6, I'm not convinced that that's enough to keep Sam Pittman. This feels like his last year, unless they really take a step forward and it feels sustainable. Like picking off one big upset and then being inconsistent on the rest of their schedule. I don't know if that's something that's going to fly anymore. And so it feels like this could be his last year, regardless of whether they make a bowl game or not. But I'll go 5 and 7. It's going to sound like a Homer anti-Arkansas pick, but I just think the schedule ends up being a really difficult one for them.
Yeah, daunting schedule for Arkansas and Sam Pittman. We'll have to see, as I'm sure SEC and Razorback fans are, what they're going to be able to put together this season, if it's going to be enough to keep Pittman in the door. Of course, we're going to keep covering the Razorbacks and all of the SEC for you, but that does it for our preview of Arkansas for 2025. We'll see you guys next time.